Hey, 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 good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to more Great Ace Attorney. We're continuing with case 1 of the second game. Gonna hop right into it. Picking up where we left off. I'm so sorry, Susato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray, you have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it at all. I... I was just... I was scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hoped to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone found out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you'd stand by me to the last. I remember. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. No, that's too good for me as well. Drag me through the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh. Even though in my heart I knew that you'd pulled the knife blade from Miss Brett's back, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I'd stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh no. I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father. That fact has certainly struck home. Which is why I can see more clearly now. So, Ray. Yes? Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet before collapsing on the floor in front of me, with a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time. That's right. Just Miss Brad and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. Well... There's a gap in the straw at the back, right? If she was sitting on that stool, couldn't she have been stabbed through the wall? I'm pretty sure that's probably how they're gonna spin it. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It's obvious, isn't it? Well, it is case 1, so... They're not making it too obfuscated, but by who? Yeah, good question. It will be alright. However it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm going to prove everything you said you saw is true. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison is going to come under close scrutiny in the upcoming proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a completely new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect the toxin. Chemical reagent? I sent a colleague of mine off for some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you should have some as well, though, just in case. Lumino? Not Lumino. Well, we dealt with not Lumino in the last game already, so... The label appears to be written in a foreign language that I don't know. That's German, so your knowledge of English is going to be of little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it in Japanese? Then we'll all be able to read it. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I could certainly see the merit in labeling the bottle in Japanese. Though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. There's not much in there, is there? It's really... It's not just German, it's cursive German. I can't read that. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet. It's this newspaper article. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yumi Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Soseki-san were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swarmed in and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba. Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on that substance there. It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Soseki-san's curiosity has been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Soseki-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would have caught a glimpse of the toxin too. Yes, many memos-san. By the way, did the reporter join you all when you went to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone would have wanted him there. Oh? A known criminal had been given permission by the authorities to bathe by the seaside. Soseki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the parties to the beach and took this very candid photograph. And presumably he posted it, anonymously, to the police. Ah! Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel, we've just heard that the new witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the courtroom at once. It's time to steal ourselves once again, then. Defense Attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo. Hi! Ray has put her faith in me now, and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. Alright, reporter man. What do you got for us? I hereby call this court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Rei Membani. Prosecutor Aoichi, have you summoned a new witness? Before I address that question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess, with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yume University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to the police headquarters by rickshaw so they would be there in good time. But judging by the man's... Oh, that's Mikotoba. But judging by the man's swagger, I feel we might need to brave ourselves for the inevitable. And, Counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, has no trace of poison anywhere along its blade. What? Are you sure about that? I would stake the reputation of the police on it. Interesting. So the poison wasn't on the blade, but she was clearly poisoned, right? With the drink, perhaps? I mean, there's a spilled drink on the floor. And this pen. It's empty and there's a reservoir for something. I'm willing to bet that this pen was used to steal the poison. And then it was dunked in the drink. Probably. So that's how she was poisoned. But then who stabbed her? That's the question, isn't it? If she died by poison, who stabbed her and why? And was it the poison that did her in or the stab wound? So yeah, I'm willing to bet the journalist poisoned her. But that means, yeah, he wouldn't need to be there. But he was there to take the picture. Unless he both poisoned her and stabbed her? That would be a bit overkill though, wouldn't it? Well, let's see how things turn out. Armed with a reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. In short, the accused's feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Well, we can take a look at this real quick then. Ah yes, this must be the victim's blood. Oh dear, blood is never a pretty sight, is it? I'm having to fight the urge to run another hot tap and get it clean. You've always been fastidious about cleanliness, haven't you? I think this is something else, Father. No other details? Okay. Ah! Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. Ah, the newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photograph of the crucial moment. Good. Very well. Officer, bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Good question. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Right 10 well, what voice should I give him? He seems like an enthusiastic type. Right 10 many memo of the Shoryu News, and what people like to call a journal. What's a journal, Father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there when the news speaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they're in print the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the Herald for nothing. The nice guy of news. Ah, a strong man, I see. Oh, so, it was you who took this photograph, was it? Well, well, what have we here? I'm sorry? Ooh, brace yourselves, people. Many Memo senses a scoop in the offing. Female stood and up to foul play, defended by curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it above the fold at 72 point in a 5-leg format for the morning edition. Curiously handsome. Huh? Right then. Let's start with your name. Oh, it's Ryutaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you want to become a lawyer? Well, I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryutaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. I just borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Taketsuchi Aoichi. That's Taketsuchi Aoichi. The so-called Dark Horse of the Supreme Court, my objections strike fear into every defense lawyer's heart. No, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes. What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for the taking of this picture. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journal if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me, sometimes I have to chase them down, but either way, you've got to be fast. Fast legs to run with and a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my mini-memoism. Mini-memoism? Ah, yes. I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself in Soseki-san. Yes, right. That was me, Mini-Memo again. But you were supposed to be going back to the Shoyu news offices after our meeting. But the scoop is, I didn't. Because that Englishwoman's words have piqued my journalistic interest. Miss Brett's words. The criminal, left to do as she pleases just because she happens to be a British citizen. It's horse dung. This country's judiciary is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court rulings aren't worth the paper they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Well, I mean, he's not wrong, but still. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well, anyway, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right, here goes. I should like to go with everyone to see our country's coast. A serious criminal going on some junket. The people need to know about this. He's breaking the pen. That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get the woman's story, so I can hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you didn't indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photograph. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own general eyes. From start to finish. Through the viewfinder of my trusty camera. Thank you, Memo-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed of the events surrounding Miss Brett's death. Well, he's certainly enthusiastic. And politically active. The beach house was made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps I could see inside through. The Englishwoman was sitting on a stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife. Throwing the Englishwoman to the floor, she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journal spirit burst into flames. Quick as a flash, I whipped up my camera, ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of one of the screens and poked the lens through for the perfect shot. He is not going to state exactly what he saw. Yeah. Well, he's lying about what he saw, so he's clearly guilty of something. Is it the stabbing? Is it the putting the poison in the drink? Is it both? Well, we'll find out. Read screens, you say? Right. You can see them clearly enough in that great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made of coarsely woven reeds. In case one, you know it's case one, you know it's us, yeah. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief to the summer heat. Well, to be fair, this is actually, I mean, this is a little more in line with the regular case ones, but GAA case 1-1 was surprisingly complex. If you remember that one. This one's a little more clear, you know? Not that that's a bad thing, but, you know, after everything GAA has thrown at us, I don't know if there's going to be twists and turns in this one. I'm expecting there will be, but we'll see. There was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved. Did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say that you took the photograph through a gap in one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it? Or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tenacity of purpose that's considered admirable in a journalist, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's mini-memoism in a nutshell. At last, it would appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs one very large question. What question? Exclusive news. A startling photograph. All the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there are circumstances at play here that are yet to be understood.
Ha! More pathetic excuses.
Very well then, Counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something about this case very close to his chest. Like his camera.
Hold it!
What made you want to see what was happening inside the beach hut in the first place, you perv? Coward journal instinct. Can you think of a better reason? Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because as well as being a proven criminal, the person inside was a young woman. Ah, I see where you're going with this. Brace yourselves, people. He's painting the journal as a voyeur! It's hardly slander, sir. You had a camera and you were taking pictures without the woman's knowledge. You perv! Nope, you got it all wrong, little student boy. Sorry. To my mind, all that was inside of that hut was a scoop. Nothing more, nothing less. Scoops know no gender. Man or woman, it's all news. That's not even mini memoism, it's basic journalism. If only the courtroom was as indiscriminate. Right, so if that's all buttoned up, can we move on? Tell the court then, witness, what sight befell your eyes when you looked inside the hut? The pizza. A sight that vindicated my journal instinct, that's what. When I pulled back the reeds, I could see it all as clear as day.
Hold it!
So you actually saw Membani-san entering the hut? Yep, and she was raging. Raging like my journal spirit. And the argument you mentioned, what was that about exactly? You stole it! I didn't steal it. That kind of thing. Talking about the poison, I suppose. The student girl walked right up to the Englishwoman and really started laying into her. I mean, if she laid into her anymore, that would have been eggs! The man should have been an author. His descriptive talents are wasted on journalism. But the student's rantings fell on deaf ears. Like a Japanese person listening to English for the first time. Wow. Brutal. He really ought to work on his similes first, though, to be honest. This guy. This asshole. Anyway, the point is that woman in the dock was mightily angry. And her temper finally got the better of her, it seems. Dear me. Which was the climactic moment that I caught on film.
Hold it!
Do you swear before this court that you actually saw the precise moment where the stabbing took place? Ha! The precise moment! I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out from start to finish.
I have here a simple plan of the beach hut.
Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my memo pad. When I first peered into the hut, I'm sure that the Englishwoman was on this stool at the back of the hut here.
Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that.
She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I have noted down. It's my turn to testify now, try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl entered the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of the hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in a flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. That's a contradiction. She said that she never got up, though. Until she had it. When she got up, she already had a knife in the back. What you describe as a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what many memoism says. Yeah. By the way, Many Memo-san, Whilst you were watching that terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it in film? Journals have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our raison d'etre. So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. That's something to be proud of, is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father, what do you... I will grant the defense's request. Many Memo-san, you will supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement. Well, nihilism is the foundation of many Memoism, but I'll gladly prove that my words are meaningless. That was out of left field. I never once set foot in the hut nor spoke with the Englishman. I was there only as an observer. I'll press him first.
Hold it!
Really? You didn't set foot inside the hut at all? Are you quite sure about that? I think you may have the wrong impression of me. We're talking about a murder scene here. My nerves were stretched to breaking point already. Oh, I see. You were scared. Maybe I did have the wrong impression of you, yes. It was all I could do to stifle a scream and hold my hand steady enough to snap the shot. You really should have summoned help before thinking of the camera. Many Memoism and humanism don't always agree. And most of the time in those instances, many Memoism comes out on top. As a sculptor of stories, sometimes I have to be cruel for my art. Yes, that's spot on. Surely he's making all this up. He claims to have spied the whole affair from start to finish. If true, his testimony is devastating. But it does seem as though he's holding something back, doesn't it? If that's how you feel, I suggest that you trust your instincts and press him on everything he said. As you've no doubt seen many times before in your role as judicial assistant. Yes, I have. I've seen witnesses like this pressed often. I know exactly what to do. Well, we have the conflict statement, I suppose. Alright, so here's the question. Do we present the pen now? We haven't established it's his pen. But by process of elimination, we know it's not raised, so...
Objection!
Yeah, we do. Many Memo-san, until now, I've had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You're spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shoyu News on my arm. In a way, that's more many Memoism. Sadly, though, it seems the journalists who write for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Many Memo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murdered victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you? If you look at the barrel of the pen, you'll notice that its owner's initials are engraved there. R.M. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membani. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also R.M.? No! Right hand many memo. R.M. That's horse dung! Can't you see? One of the central tenets of many memoism is being a pencil user. And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is a very obvious blue ink stain. It would appear that you must have rather carelessly left it somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung! Many Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Show you news will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are the stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. And there's no need anyway, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves who its owner really is. In that case, counsel, the defense will now show the court where this alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this fountain pen that clearly reveals its owner's identity is... Oh, we got a different dialogue, right? Okay. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yumi University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen does in fact know. Yeah, okay, it's the same dialogue. As well, the initials, there is also an emblem on this fountain pen. It's the logo of soy sauce, please. An emblem that you of course recognize, Memo-san. Goodness me, it's the emblem of the Shoyu News. In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News whose initials are RM. Suddenly, the stars in the night sky don't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Memo-san, how do you respond? No! Shoyu News. Order! Order! Explain yourself, witness. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I've used nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long before that grim tragedy unfolded. I, a Shoyu News reporter, on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview? You never mentioned this before? What? When exactly was this? As I said, it was before that evil little student girl showed her face in the hut. It couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing. And as many memoirs say, the people don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem it to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between you, yourself, and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright. But on one condition. Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Soseki Natsume-san. Soseki-san? Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. And brace yourselves, because it's not a harmless one. It's big. What? Naoki's now sitting back and enjoying the drama. I don't know if he's enjoying it very much. Many Memoism states that one man's secret is every other man's front page story. Very well, I will grant the witness request in this instance. Officer, summon the earliest witness back to the stand. Soseki-san, hiding something. Waga Haiwa. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses come running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about that in his testimony, which is why many Memoism demands I review it now. You mean to say the victim? The victim regained consciousness! And when she did, you decided to ask her a question! That's, true, yes. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. This is preposterous! Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you Yoko hack? It wasn't even a conversation! Yes, I did pose the withering English Rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even. Counsel for the defense, I expect thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut?
Hold it!
You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life. That's not the way I phrased it. Minimalism calls for straight talking. Why did you murder Dr. Wilson? Is how I put it to her. Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu in a restaurant, I say. That's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. And how did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Whew, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there. Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. Dancingly descend down the stairs. Shoutouts to Ghost Trick. The veteran at the paper taught me that.
Hold it!
That was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize. Any minimum whiz will tell you that. Breasted bubbly to the stairs and to the dark. Let them think you've left and just when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for the scoop. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. Though I'm sure the young Yoko student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. And now that you've found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. I'm sure. Please, do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here, and I'm going to tell it.
Hold it!
And Soseki-san remained behind in the hut. That's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twirling, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind baleful bars. They'll be coming for me, surely. That's all I could think. I felt as though I was gasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat. Poor Soseki-san. His experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to reside in my courtroom, please. And now, we come to the crucial part. That's when it happened.
Hold it!
What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear it from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Writer-Man? Ah!
Out with it, you Yoko hack!
What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying English woman? Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Ray! I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defender leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hosonaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin! But what did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't! She said nothing in response! But... When it is stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will! I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied.
Hold it!
How's he reacting? So you tried to find out who the culprit was? He who asks questions is a fool for a minute, he who does not remains a fool forever. He's looking at him funny. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever! However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese! Oh dear, Soseki-san has really developed a dislike for the English, it seems. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised at his xenophobia. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Writer-Man? Well, yes, alright. She did respond in the manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted her trembling finger and pointed in the direction of the defendant.
Hold it!
Twice? Miss Brett pointed her finger at the defendant. Soseki-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us, with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked who did this to you, the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. Which was, it can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today. Or she could be pointing to the back of the hut. No. Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all. Caught another glimpse of him, he is looking angrily. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it. Unclear. I'm very, very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the women may barely have been conscious. And yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly. But there can be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could have possibly have committed this crime.
I am inclined to agree. And in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No. No! Ah, but the photo. Yes. The headline's writing itself. Dashing Lawyer's Hope's Dash, 92 point across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim of evidence. The judge will give his ruling, and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Impossible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find a clue. Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut listening to what I was saying. And then a moment later, she suddenly got to her feet. Before collapsing on the floor in front of me. Knife in her back. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information I've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add.
So, the Galad Yoko student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised.
In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. This is a crucial turning point now. If we can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding? And how did he or she stab the victim?
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. Oh? To what end, Counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with a dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? Ha! None exists.
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could have committed the crime.
What?
And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction.
This is fiction! Fantasy!
Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, Counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed?
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I'm a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, Counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut.
What?
Order, order, order!
But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all!
You've just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snapped. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about, I can swear to that.
Obviously, if the culprit had been outside the hut. There's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut.
Actually, Prosecutor Aoichi, there is a way.
Ah.
And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed.
You're bluffing! You're bluffing, you Yoko!
The defense assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, Counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut?
Take that!
Well, I've presented it now, but I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence. Counsel, you're suggesting that this piece of evidence bears out your theory as to how the victim was stabbed? It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency. What, it's not the photo? But the photo shows the gaps in the hut, though. I think the word you're looking for, Counsel, was downfall. Okay. I mean, the photo is literally taken through a gap in the hut, so that proves that you can stick objects through the hut. You know? But okay. I guess it's the other photo. My logic is sound though. That photo is literally... Yeah, I know. But, you know... This is literally a photo taken through a gap in the hut. So it proves that you can't poke objects through the hut, you know? I still think my logic is sound. But alright, they want this one. The original photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing.
I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing, which you claim took place from outside the hut?
Take that!
Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds.
No, I can't. I can't see any such thing.
It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls at year's back. However, by parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. Ah. And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed.
Right hand Many Memo-san, it could only have been you.
No!
Objection!
This preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this partial scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not.
We're not.
If we recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on the stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew everything. She knew she was untouchable.
A stool.
Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who was sitting on that stool. My word. So, in fact, the victim was killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen.
Ah!
Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Membani-san's appalled eyes. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened on the beach that day. By your silence, Many Memo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge.
This is absurd!
That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membani-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave. I must say, I've never been more proud. The music isn't playing though, so something else is gonna happen.
No, this can't be. The Aoji clan can't. What of my growth? My growth of hope? It wasn't an aberration. I can't accept this. I won't.
I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude proceedings by delivering my final verdict and...
Hold it!
Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedom to speak and branding them as criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut, through the reed screen walls. And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So, the argument hinges on the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference, if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course.
The poison?
Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that the deadly poison you were developing was stolen from the laboratory, correct? It has been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual construction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see, I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Ah. It's still attempted murder, though. Given that her pupils are clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood. Ah, how refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom in whose back and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But they can only be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Ha 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 ha! Forgotten already, have we, Yoko? During these very proceedings, the laboratory professor at your side insisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. Ugh. So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well... Ah! Order! But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. I mean, she drank it. Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass have been knocked over onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped into either. Somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Well, whatever you know. Look at those dashing eyes. This'll make a great front page spot. Hey! Why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Ooh, let me capture those white eyes. That is prime press favor. This is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, Your Excellency. Let me get a shot at that magnificent beard. You claimed it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You explained to the court what in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journal and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my past. And I'm not about to start showing now, because that's many memoism. For a brief moment I thought I illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity, I guess. Just where is this trial going to take us? A lot of wild twists and turns. Alright, chat. Before we keep going, give me just a second. I'm gonna go get more water. So, yeah. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about the wait. Had to go collect the package. Anyways. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have seen justice done. Ah, getting to the heart of the matter now, are we? So, you admitted then, that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen. You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. Wow, well, actually, yeah, okay. This is a relatively simple case one, but they're tying it into the overall high political intrigue. I like that. I like this approach. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. Okay, very good, but... Isn't he admitting to attempted murder? Like, what is his argument? It's more real than the dark side of the law terrain, yeah. Okay, but genuinely though, what is his argument? I didn't cause the death because I knew she was already dead. Is he arguing for the I'm not stabbing a live person, I'm just defouling a corpse argument? Is that what they're saying? Because I don't think that's a legal argument. I think that's a more of a feeling argument, right? Because it's not even really defouling a corpse or attacking someone who they know is already dead. I'm pretty sure, medically speaking, given that the autopsy says that he died of the hemorrhage, he did in fact kill her. Like, if you stab a person who is dying of cancer, you're still a murderer, right? I'm just like thinking, he's saying this out of desperation, sure, but the game is gonna go along with it and say that, okay, if I don't prove that he didn't do the poison as well, because I'm pretty sure this way it's going. I think he poisoned her as well. But like, if we're also going along with the idea, the game is going to go along with the idea that if he didn't poison her, then our client's gonna be found guilty. And this guy's gonna walk away scot-free. Okay, actually, maybe, unless they're implying that, okay, they'll both go to prison. Sure, maybe that would make sense. So he's not really trying to get out of it. He's just trying to drag Ray down with him. I guess that's what it is. Probably, right? That's the only way I can rationalize this, like in-game logic-wise. They both go to jail. He's just trying to drag Ray down with her. Okay, that makes more, interpreting it like that makes more sense. But if he's serious about the argument, that's still murder. I'm pretty sure. Like, that's not even attempted murder. He actually killed her. You know? Like, are you just saying that you're culpable? Like, I'm only 50% liable. The other 50% is Ray's fault. Alright. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right. You guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. What's his motivation though? He's already not getting out of the punishment. Why does he want to drag Ray down with him? Is it just to show that despite all his talk about justice and vigilante executions and all that, he's really not a good person? Like, he's trying to throw someone else under the bus together with him? I guess that's what they're going for. Implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journal here is off the hook. No, he actually thinks he's out of it! The argument is sound, certainly. No, it's not! Are we serious right now? This is especially silly. I'm sorry. I know this is Ace Attorney, but like, man straight up admitted to murder on the stand. He is not getting off scot-free. Why is the game treating it like he's gonna get off scot-free? Like, you stab a corpse, you stab a corpse with the intention, with the knowledge, without knowing that the person is already dead. That's still attempted murder. Your ass is not out of jail. Why are they treating it like he's out of jail? This is asinine. He admitted to murder on the stand. This is silly. Even by Ace Attorney standards, this is silly. Okay, let's keep going. I'm not wrong though, am I? Right? I'm not wrong to say that, right? He just flat out admitted to it on the stand. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. Oh! And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poison. Yes, it's all quite logical. Wait, huh? Hang on. What are they saying here? Oh, they're saying Ray. They're saying Ray wouldn't have needed to stab the victim. So the reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Okay, yeah, sure. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last! This is unbelievable. And after I've made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be a final cross-examination in this trial. Yes, Your Excellency. Yeah, he will be arrested literally in 0 seconds. Man's under oath. Complete innocence, lol.
Hold it!
No, it doesn't. So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Brett, then? Ha! That woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation. She was pure evil. A cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our Empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So, in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it, the point is this. That Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right for society. That doesn't get you off the hook for murder, sir. It's a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock. A crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. So I would have bothered to stab the woman if I had already poisoned her.
Hold it!
So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. That'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these. The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accuser's shoulders. Am I crazy? Guys! Cause of death, single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. We're all gonna die of old age one day. Doesn't mean that I stab someone before they die of old age, I'm innocent. Sorry, this is just a really mind-blowing logical... This is just a really weird train of logic, you know? Him being desperate about it, sure, but everyone else going along with it? This is weird. Yes, I'm sorry. I have a legitimate complaint about this line. It's not the most well written. I'm gonna say that right now. If they wrote it such that he was trying to drag her down and like he would be guilty, I think that would make more sense, you know. But no, it's very clearly murder. She died of the stab wound, not of the poisoning.
That is how the law works, you see, Yoko. Who knows, you may even learn something here today. Alright, I won't keep harping on it, but I've made my feelings clear about this particular part. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something at evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You'll reiterate why you were compelled to stop the victim then, witness.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? But what happened at the restaurant 9 months ago, that's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. A professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. The case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai, however. There is little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside, you could see it. I really felt for her. Hold it! I can't. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray! Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all this up! Susato, please! You have to make them listen! Susato? Who is Susato? Return to the dock at once, Minbani-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination. Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly! He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty great peeping Tom! Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accuser's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. But, Your Excellency! This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it will be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poisoner would be very difficult. That's true. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of toxin we've been developing, you see. And since Sosaki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah yes, Minimemo-san, one more question if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, you don't know what you're talking about? Ah, that's how that happened. Yes,
Look at this! The entire article! It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word! Ah! Well, Mini Memo-san? As a journal, and as a citizen of a free country, I thought to review my sources. There's a founding principle of many memoism. Father's clearly right about this. The reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up! My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I wanted to go on record. Very well, you may amend your formal testimony. The point is, if he poisoned someone, there'd be no reason for them to then go and stab the person as well. But what if you didn't want to get the military involved, huh? What if you didn't want the government involved, huh?
Objection!
So that's why he did it twice. I see. Well, I can think of one reason. What? But before I explain, I'd like to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. And there is one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Membani-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel?
Mini-Memo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Ah! Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison while the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membani-san entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Mini-Memo-san overheard some worrying information.
Worrying information? What worrying information?
The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, it's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Ugh. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membani-san being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you. Right, 10 Mini-Memo? Ah! It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. And it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake. Because the poison caused such unnatural symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned of these facts. But you'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do?
Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he?
Exactly.
Ace Attorney working backwards again. Yeah. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. But she attempted to do so by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. How did he sneak the poison out the lab? With his pen. Pretty obviously. The center is empty. Gonna milk it for one more dramatic moment. Yeah, it's the pen. We're gonna have to present it. Yeah. Order! 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. That the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward.
Well, there are a number of... yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his topknot, he is clinging to lost hope.
Lost hope! Hold it!
The hat's off.
Ah! You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? What are you calling fallen? My burgeoning growth is others.
I don't need a counter-argument! What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Always back to this old one, huh? Where's the evidence? Yes, you made it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here, in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Shoyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out will be very difficult. How's that then? Blown the story wide open? See? I, write in many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Ah! But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it, and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. Oh, what's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is this. There is one way that you, Mini Memo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question?
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. Ah! A fountain pen? How could that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Ah! I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else, these newfangled pens are really a fad. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soup cone of sumptuous ink and one work is a wash of words in the blink of an eye. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talking of sucking up ink have? Ah! And just as it's possible to suck up ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Mini Memo-san? When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Ah!
Objection!
More absurdity! That never happened!
True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Many Memo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act while the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when she was shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink?
What?
As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass.
Witness, what have you say in your defense?
So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Look at me! I'm Wolverine! Ah! You just threw them. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. Ha! No such evidence could possibly exist.
Objection!
Mini Memo-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past into the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the information evidence. This is it then. This will be the final piece in the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question.
Ah!
Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It will be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison.
A reagent? What?
One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Mini Memo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't.
I won't.
Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. This isn't my fault! The Empire dropped me to do this! Trying to hold its head high as a civilized nation, by bowing to center for every far win. I took a vow to the mighty bed, I fought tidings on the battle of it is, ordinary justice and righteousness, many was embarrassing, many remo! Susato, with me! I'm there! Oh! Double Susato takedown! Who the heck is Susato? Did I do it right? There was a Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown. Very cool. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Memo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up.
Then why did the Englishwoman end up dead?
I went into that hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom. Evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it.
And she just laughed in my face.
Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman purporting to practice journalism. Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways. You ignorant plebeian. Oh, okay. Racist charge, insult, but yeah, you know, even then, that's still murder.
But what did you call me?
This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back to the cave you came from. Wow, what an asshole. That's when I remembered about the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journal spirit, getting all fired up. I mean, I understand why he did it, but he definitely tried to drag an innocent woman down with him, so still, not that much remorse for him. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was. But a cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say.
Oh, come on! Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consider jurisdiction would never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset, a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan.
What sort of deal? I've done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published.
But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up.
He came under pressure from the government. If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press,
then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself?
Let's not forget, Memo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett.
What?
The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. Okay, they acknowledged it, yeah. So they make him sympathetic to the player, especially. They make him sympathetic to the player, especially. But yeah, he's still a murderer. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Yutaro Naruhodo. Oh. Yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way here. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience at the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo-san, Ryunosuke, I mean. The way he handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, it gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Aoichi, do you have any final thoughts? Oh, whoa. Is he... That escalated quickly. Aoichi-san, don't do it! No, okay, they're not gonna. They're gonna subvert it in a funny way or something, but... Golly, that's dark! Prosecutor Aoichi! I, Taketsuchi of the Aoichi clan, have been bested by a callow youth, not once now, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on in shame. Oh my god, he's gonna do it. I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path to Aoichi-ism. Aoichi-ism? One hopes that that's the only way which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. Is no one gonna stop him? Strike off my top knot. The time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. He's narrating a death poem. Oh, I see. He's gonna cut his hair off. He's not gonna Sudoku. He's just gonna cut his hair off. I get it. Well, he did it to himself this time. Can I get an F in chat for that? It was beautiful. She's paying respects. They're all paying respects. Oh my god. This is too good. This is the pinnacle of Ace Attorney humor right here. This is up there. 100%. Now, in regards to the defendant, Raymond Bunny-san. Yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Yay! The sakura petals went a-flying. Hooray! Woohoo! Yay! Court is adjourned. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. That's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Thank you. Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Ray, and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray. So I would have to say that this congratulations belongs to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals.
And the trial's over, so no more of this far more super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger. To throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... What? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think about it, Ray. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh my goodness. No, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Ray's lovely smile. Hey, where's Inspector Hosonaga? I'm sure he'll be happy to let us double throw him. He seems like he'd be into it. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but let's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? What is happening? Ah, Sosaki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope. But it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't... So dashing! So divine! No! Doubly dashing! Yes, and devilishly divine. Just look at you. I had no idea Miss Susato-san, the Squiress. Then you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney! Roll credits! Bro, what was the original Japanese line? I need to know. Is Gyakuten Saiban in that original line? I have to know. I guess I really am an ace attorney. Ha 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 ha. In fact, you could even say I'm a great ace attorney. Ha 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 ha. Poor Sosaki-san, so confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense of the Old Bailey, Sosaki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. What, twice? Sorry, I think I may have missed the context. Was he involved in another case? Again? I'm stunned. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a Chief Inspector of the Police Bureau. Who came up with Mr. Taro, no less? I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this was a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I am a professional, of course. I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. But that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes.
The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? But Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl will never see her beloved father again. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On returning to Japan, I took on my professorship at the Imperial Yumi University, but I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Well, I wonder, is he Mycroft? I mean, not literally Mycroft Holmes, but special consultant to the government. I mean, he's definitely more active, being a professor of medicine. Like, being a professor of medicine and all that, so he's more active than Mycroft. But like, special advisor to the government, that's a very specific term, you know, right? And he kind of looks like him too, a little bit, right? The mustache. I can see it. I could see him playing the Mycroft role. But for the Japanese side instead of the British side, yeah. Now that I think about it, why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed of a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I can think of. Dear me, you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato. I'm sorry, my dear, I simply can't... Ah! Let me go! Many Memo-san. So, one throw wasn't enough for you. I've got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. And that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her! The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago! What? Student of law? He must mean... Kazuma-sama. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Ah! Whoa. The judge showed up. Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. Is this the first time a judge has been outside the court as their own portrait? That's funny. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw had arrived, Eugene, and it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with them, and I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. Ha 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 ha. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Seishiro Jigoku. He has a name! Huh. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance, Susato. Did you know all along, from the start of the trial? Ha 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 ha. A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. The Seishiro you hadn't known and then he recognized you, so I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. Oh, well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Oh, thank you very much. What you think of my Seishiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Ha 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 ha. Whatever could father be hiding from me? And whatever it is, the judge is probably in on it too. What weird diplomatic secret are they not wanting the reporter to talk about? It's giving me the same... You know what energy I just got from that? It's the same energy as Gregson trying desperately not to let state secrets leak in the Old Bailey. You know? They're like hiding something. But, you know, I don't know which way it leans. It could be good, it could be bad. It just might be sensitive information that's probably not... Best not to leave it out in the open, you know? And the reporter really doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut, so fair enough. About Giselle Brett. About Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm going to have to bring this up with father sometime. When nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san Esquires. Could I have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once. I will! I will! As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness Locum stood and Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day he sent a telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? That particular part my father was interested in. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I could never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. Ah. The second one? You mean the one Mrs. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Ah. Interesting. Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Haha! That's a clever way to put it, including us, the public. Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what the dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. That's a hell of a hook for the second case, which I assume is like the next one. Next case is gonna be a flashback case.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year,
Good framing
it
device.
feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued now for the second case. Something to look forward to then. I guess even if it feels like a filler case, it's going to be important. Alright. Well, that was a wonderful introduction into the sequel. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and stay tuned next time. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.